What's the hottest thing a guy can say during sex? Saying positive things about you with a voice full of desire. You drive me crazy. You look so good like this. I've been waiting for this all day. When he's just touching, admiring my body and says, God, I fucking love you. When he does low grunts, groans. Especially when I slide down onto him. When he says he is gonna come. Basically anything showing he is genuinely really enjoying himself, lol. Once had a man absolutely rock my world, and then when I started to move to get up he growled, I'm not done, right near my ear. Hot face. According to my ex, it's not the words, oh geez. I got this tip off of Reddit. If it's not casual sex, saying, I love you so much absolutely sends me. Which actor was truly miscast in a particular role? Vincent Chase as Pablo Escobar. Almost the entire cast of the Last Airbender movie. John Wayne as Genghis Khan. Mark Wahlberg as Sully in the Uncharted movie. Gary Oldman as a dwarf in Tiptoes, also starring Peter Dinklage. Denise Richards, the nuclear scientist in that James Bond movie. Steven Seagal as an action star. Ben Affleck as Daredevil. The script was bad and that can take a lot of the blame. However, Affleck still moves around like his spine is fused, while trying to portray one of the more nimble characters in Marvel. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I still get mad at his performance. Tug Speedman as Simple Jack. People who don't reply until days later. Why? Some days I don't feel like talking to people. I reply to them in my brain and forget to reply them in real life. I'm an introvert and it actually takes a lot of energy for me to respond to people. I much prefer talking in person to someone, but for some reason messaging drains me. It's nothing against the person I haven't responded to, and I usually tell my friends it's the way I am and they understand. So unless it's urgent, it could take me a couple of days to respond until I have the energy. Sometimes I just don't have the energy for it. I recharge and relax by being alone and doing things that take very little effort. I'm also not on my phone a lot. I'm a university student taking full units while working simultaneously. Which city are you not going to visit ever again and why? Cairo. I've seen everything I wanted to see there, but would never return. Tourists are treated like cattle there by those involved in the tourist trade, much to the embarrassment of the many good Egyptian people who live in the city. Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh. The resort was fine, but stepping in the city market, big aggressive vibe towards woman tourist. Even when the BF is next to her. Bradford, UK. It just doesn't have a lot going for it, unfortunately. The sort of place where when people find out you are from out of town, they ask what you are doing there, but not in a sort of cheery, oh, what are you here for? way, but seriously, why have you chosen to come here? Way. What is a quote from a comedian you'll never forget? I remember quite a few of his routines by heart, but this one comes to mind first. Take Idaho's license plates, they say, famous potatoes. Then there's New Hampshire, their license plates say, live free. Or die. I don't know. I think that's somewhere between famous potatoes and live free or die. The truth lies. And I think it's closer to famous potatoes. George Carlin. Every time you clog a toilet, you exceeded someone's expectations. I don't like country music, but I don't mean to denigrate those who do. And for the people who like country music, denigrate means put down. Bob Newhart. Cocaine is God's way of saying you make too much money. Robin Williams. You wake up, it's January 1st, 1999, what do you do first? Am I in my 1999 body and life or in my 2023 body? Am I me as I am now transported to 1999 or me as I was back then but with today's knowledge? Because if it's the latter, I get up and start making the tough decision on whether I want to play with my Easy Bake Oven or my PlayStation first. Then I'll consider if an 8-year-old can realistically find a way to avert 9/11. Try not to trip into a cryofreezer while delivering a pizza. Start selling Y2K survival kits. Call my dad, tell him I love him and get him to go on a 2-week father and son trip together one last time. He passed away January 18, 99. I was 17. Which fictional characters should have to register as sex offenders? Dennis, It's Always Sunny. Quagmire. Zap Brannigan. Master Roshi of DBZ. Ramsay Bolton and he'd be overqualified. Barney Stinson, he sold a woman. Basically anyone in Game of Thrones. Ezra Fitz. Kevin Spacey's character from American Beauty. Edward Cullen maybe? People who had sex with a celebrity, how was it? The worst part about blowing Willie Nelson was afterwards when he told me he wasn't actually Willie Nelson. It was good, but she goes to a different school so you wouldn't know her. My older brother ditched me trying to hook up with Joan Jett. I was 15 or 16 at the time and she was in town for the Indy 500 or 4th of July. Can't remember which one exactly, but we ran into her and she was extremely nice and talked to us for a couple of hours before she performed. Next thing I know my brother's friend is giving me a ride home because he had some other plans. Turns out she was just being an actual genuinely nice person and my brother read that as her hitting on him. Wish I could have been there for the rejection. Open mouth smile. How do you let your girlfriend know her vaginal area has an odor that might require additional maintenance without embarrassing her? If it's a new problem, tell her, I don't mean to embarrass you but I am concerned about you. I heard that if there is a significant change of odor it could mean that it could be something health related. Maybe you should check with your gyno. If it's lack of hygiene then she will more than likely change that after hearing that, but she could have something needing medical attention. Sit down. No, over there. We need to talk. Hey honey, something smells a bit different than normal. Your pH might be off. I think you should reach out to your gyno. Tell her straightforward. And #X200B. Edit. Tell her straightforward with respect, you jackasses. How do you tell your GF she has a mustache? She knows already. One of my exes from high school told me that. 2012-ish. I didn't realize that everyone else could see it. Now, I shave it every time I shower and I can see it even when it isn't actually there. Definitely destroyed my self-confidence. My fiancé said it isn't easily seen, even if it's grown out. But it's all I see. I hate having hair on my upper lip and on my forearms too. My ex mocked me because of it and I wax it since then. I do it regularly but many of my friends just don't care and they are happy the way they look. Good for them. We know about body hair, we just don't need to deal with it in many cases. She knows and doesn't give a shit. If you tell her you're gonna regret it. Blanket NDAs are now illegal. What can you finally tell us about your former employer? They misused pandemic assistance funds. I worked for the political consultant best known in DC circles for having gotten a dead fish in the mail from Rahm Emanuel. The consultant was a super weird boss, full of shady business practices, including expensing all of his personal shit like family vacations to the business. But this is the story that tends to blow minds. My former employer had me print out his emails so he could handwrite his responses, which I would type up and send back. They laid off 160 people so they could afford to give the COO a 30% raise. I worked for a school district that changed grades to boost graduation rates. Which cancelled TV show deserved another season? Better Off Ted. The show was a brilliant satire of corporate business that was far too funny. Amazing cast. Incredibly quotable. Ended far too soon. Punisher should have had a season 2 with more gang, mafia shenanigans. Altered Carbon should have been able to wrap up its story. Rubicon didn't have to be a continuation, but I would love to see more like it. Edit. I have been corrected. Punisher had a season 2. My mistake. I am not okay with this. The Owl House wasn't outright cancelled, but was shortened from a full 20-episode season 3 to 3 specials. Since the specials are still good, albeit rushed, it makes me want to see what they could have done with the full season. What's a realistic way to reduce gun violence in America? Define realistic. Realistic as in, would work if implemented, or realistic as in, Americans would be willing to implement. Teach your kids not to be nasty little fuckers, bullies. Let your kids know they can talk to you at any time about anything. Give them examples. Hey, do you feel stressed out, depressed, bullied, suicidal? Don't be scared to use adult words. Teach the importance of being a good person. That every action has a consequence. Edit. I have tried to reply to all comments. It's getting late here now. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Removed. Shoot the guns. Make the American dream attainable again. Happy successful people don't shoot other people. What is a dead giveaway of a toxic relationship? One partner always gets their way. For me, it was easier to bend over backward than to deal with the whining and complaining if I stood my ground. Easier is in quotes because it was only easier in the short term. Long term made life hell. Lack of autonomy. Things like having to vet every little thing you do with a partner. Being isolated from outside relationships and not self-actualizing outside of the context of part of a couple. There is usually a power imbalance or at the very least an unhealthy level of codependency. If someone is always talking crap about their partner whenever they are not together. I've seen this far too many times. It's always ended in total disaster within a few years at most.